4:59 a.m. Wow. I try to get my bearings straight before I jump up and get on my phone anymore. I used to just wake up, turn over, get on my phone and start looking at stuff. And I've seen now how damaging that is. You really can't jump right into like social media posts or hell, sometimes even emails or inboxes, DMs, whatever you want to call them, because sometimes it's just a bunch of bullshit, and it's damaging. You know, it's coming in my eyes. I don't want to turn the light away too much, but it's damaging, and I don't understand how some people can be in the positions that they are mentally, spiritually. I just really, I wonder sometimes, like, how can you really be there and function through the course of the day, every day? Um, it's a trip to me. And as I always tell people, I mean, I don't say things for the views and likes. I mean, I would do scheduling. I would do all the shit that would be formatically correct for podcasting to if I was trying to garner as much traffic as I could on a video. I mean, I put it out there because I think about it. I put it out there because I believe in what I'm saying. But mostly I put it out there just because it's just regurgitating what the atmosphere is bringing me. And you know, I started a new Facebook page a couple years ago just because I really wanted to get away from just a lot of the silly shit. You know, after 10 years of having the same page, I had garnered so many people, and I didn't want to go through and be unfriending this and I didn't have time for all that shit. So I just started a new page, and you know, the people that I wanted on the new page would be on the new page. And I met so many different people over the last couple of years that I pretty much filled out my Facebook friends list with people that I'll either fuck with some point, or I had fucked with before and maybe I don't fuck with now, but it has nothing to do with that I changed. Well, maybe I did change and they stayed the same. Or they changed, you know, and I stayed the same. So, we have no reason to connect. And it's all good. I have no problem with that. I absolutely don't find any problem with that. I mean, people change, you move on. I don't have a reason to have a relationship with some people, like through this whole ADOS thing. Um, there's people that I dealt with coming into, the knowledge of ADOS, the one with the hashtag in front of it. Because no matter what anybody says, nobody took that away from anyone. You know, they just basically crashed and burned it to try to rebuild it as a nonprofit. And I get what they did. I get the business move. I just wish that they would admit that that's what they were trying to do, or that's what they wanted to do from the beginning, but they just didn't know how. See, there's nothing wrong with admitting your ignorance from the beginning, because if that's what was supposed to happen, then that should have happened at the beginning. And sometimes, that's why I put in like my hashtags. I don't believe all of the things, come from strategy or being malicious. Sometimes they come from ignorance. I don't think it comes from self-hate sometimes. I think a lot of things come from ignorance. And some people don't like to admit their ignorance, especially when they're scholars. It's one thing that I've learned in my life. I mean, and I'm not a scholar, you know. I know some shit, but I'm not a scholar. Nobody gave me a degree and says you know some shit on a documented level. So I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. But people that have degrees and certificates and all types of accomplishments, credentials and whatnot, they want to be acknowledged just for that. They don't want to be acknowledged for people. And see, I don't want to hold a person to that standard, because if I start holding you to your degree standard, I'm expecting you to be perfect, you know. And although you may be great, you're not perfect. But when you do stuff like that, that's why I say, I think you're undermining yourself. You're undermining your own greatness by acting as if you're perfect. And I think that now that the people who started that hashtag movement with ADOS, I think that what they wanted to do from the beginning is what they're doing now, but they're not open enough to say, look, we were ignorant to this shit and how big it got, and we wanted to lead it this way. And they need to say, we wanted to be the leaders of it. Because, see, that wasn't all made clear either. Because leaders lead, and they really weren't leading. They were just holding podcasts. And there were people around the country that were leading. And I really don't want to turn this into an ADOS video, but it kind of is an ADOS video at the beginning, because that was one of my thoughts. Because when I woke up, I did what I try not to do nowadays and grab my phone. I try to gather my thoughts and thinking, because who knows what I'm going to see when I pick that phone up, whether it be a text message, an inbox, you know, somebody leaving a comment on one of my YouTube posts being stupid. Who knows? So I did what I don't normally do, and I picked the phone up because I didn't know what time it was. I passed out. So I didn't know what time it was. And I got on, and the first thing I saw was this thing I guess they're doing with this conference, and it says, the second annual conference. And, my thing is, it can't be the second annual because you didn't have one last year, but it is what it is. So I immediately found fault in that, but that's because I'm holding them to a perfect standard. I don't believe that they're perfect, but because they put it out there as if they're perfect and they've never been wrong about anything, I'm going to hold you to the perfect standard. And I know it's not the second annual. We didn't have shit last year. Last year was the pandemic. So we didn't have shit last year. They had something in 19, but they didn't have shit in 20. But now it's the second annual. Now maybe it'll be the second annual next year, but you had something and you didn't have it again, and that would have been the second annual. So I need to understand and make it make sense. But I believe what they're doing now is they're getting people who were not a part of the movement before the whole implosion, post-election, post-down balloting, post-everything, and they're getting people on board now that don't know about a lot of the fallout and as to why there was a lot of fallout and why there were things exposed. I've already immediately noticed that it's not the same thing. You know, I mean, there's not the trade-off between the initials YC and AM the way it used to be. Yeah, they throw each other shout outs. Yeah, they talk about being the founders of this and that, but they are nowhere near where they were as far as their messaging being on a cohesive set. And nobody's talking about that. And so I'm finally going to get that off my chest this way, because I think it was done ignorantly. I think that they wanted to go into it a certain way, but they went into it another way, and it got good to them. It got good to them. The podcast got good to them. You know, the donations got good to them. What they were doing got good, but then without having a second level plan, and without really, this is really what hurt, without them wanting to galvanize with other people who really were in the street. And everybody knows who's been in the street. Everybody knows who has been out here doing work. So we really ain't got to throw names out there. Marlon Watson. We really ain't got to throw names out there. Chris Loxon. We really ain't got to throw names out there. BTP. We really ain't got to throw names out there. Cynthia McDonald, Arthur Ward, Brother Otis, Brother Ward. We really ain't got to throw names out there. Somebody who actually pushes all of our content online, Sister Shanna. See, it's so funny because she used to push their videos too, and still does to some degree, because there's still good content there. There's just not good energy there. And I think that's undermining greatness. I think because of the disengagement, I think greatness is being undermined, and if you wanted to just make a business model out of it, you should have just made a business model out of it. But if you really were about doing the work and getting things done the way you said you were, then you would have did that. And much respect to YC and AM for whatever they do, but they pulled the fast one on the descendants of chattel slavery, the descendants of freedmen. They pulled a fast one. And what I see them doing now and who I see them flowing with now, they're more, as I was talking before about babes in Christ. They always talk about people, that they're new to come to church. I think they're dealing with babes in the reparations movement, and people that, as someone once said, they don't know enough. See, when you tell me I don't know enough, then I expect you do know enough, and you're going to tell me so I know enough. But when you keep just telling me that I don't know enough, but you don't educate me, then maybe you don't know enough. Maybe you don't know enough to teach. Maybe you should go get a teacher. Maybe you do have the data, but you don't know how to articulate it to me and the collective. Because if you did, then you would be deemed as a leader. You wouldn't call yourself a leader. You would be deemed as a leader. See, people that call themselves leader generally are not leaders. I've learned that in my life too. People that call themselves leaders are generally not leaders. People who are deemed as leaders, people who are put on that pedestal by people, they're generally put on that pedestal by people that they're leading. You don't just walk up there and be like, "Hey, I'm a leader." You show leadership. You exemplify leadership. You don't just call yourself a leader and just be leader. Like, it's like that kid that always wanted the #1 jersey and shit, when you played sports, and he was never the best player. He always wanted that number one jersey, but he was never, ever the best player. That's a problem. But that kid, hell, that kid was a lot of times was the coach's son. Coach would give his son the number one, so there wouldn't be any debate, and then his son wouldn't be the number one player. I played with very few teams where the son was the number one player. But I'm seeing the undermining of greatness in so many different ways where the collective is concerned. And it's unfortunate because white supremacy will let us undermine each other. That's what we need to understand. People are going to stand around and let us beat each other up. It makes their job easier. Their job is to beat us up, but when we beat ourselves up, that's a problem. That's a real problem when we beat ourselves up. I don't see any reason why anybody would talk against someone if we're looking for one thing. Why anybody would talk against anyone's strategy to cross them up and cause disengagement. So I never understood any of the arguments, any of the debates before. I never understood any. I'll be honest with you. But now I understand it because it was all an internal plan to cause discord so we wouldn't move together. That was a strategy. And I lost confidence in what we were actually trying to accomplish. So I stepped back for a minute and just said, I know what we need. I know what we're looking for, but why is it not working for everybody? And it was because people were jockeying for position. Some people were jockeying for position. Some people were just on the course and pushing for legislation. And when you have a person that's just jockeying for position, just to be in place, and they're not looking to do something for the collective, we're going to lose. And we lost. We lost by doing the whole down balloting, this, that, and the other, bam, bam, bam. We did all that with no plan B. And I didn't see how we were really going to get back on course because nobody was really talking about it, in politics. We were really just, I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, you would see certain things in certain pockets. And this is where I don't really want to get off course because it kind of has turned into ADOS conversation. But I saw the people that just kept moving, and I, all due respect to anybody that I may have left out, but I know that there were certain pockets all over the country that were doing the work, and people had, they had pods and they were doing things politically but for some reason these two individuals just seemed to be moving around and away from those places, or they would mess with these people online, but they really weren't messing with them in the street, which is where all this happens. See, I think a lot of people have gotten so poisoned just by the camera, by the microphone, by the super chat, by the Cash App, by the Venmo, by the PayPal. I think a lot of people have gotten poisoned by that. And it's really, really easy once you have a foundation underneath you that's following you and that's contributing to your platform, it's really easy for you to start to do some different things. And as new people come on, I guess it sounds like a lot of this stuff was in play right up under everybody else's nose. And I think that's why there's so much bitterness, if I need to call it that. I don't really look at it as bitterness. I think everybody's real, like, they fucked up, because I believe that they did. This had the wheels turning in such a way, and there were so many different factions of people, which is what you need, that were moving, and then all of a sudden you just throw it all away. You start beefing with every single person that's a part of this, that's a viable part of this, and it was only to jockey for position. Telling people that they couldn't use this because of a hashtag and couldn't use that. I'm like, really? So you trying to challenge someone's lineage? But I think everybody's in a good way now. I think everybody's in a good way now. But with that being said, we still have people that are still trying to undermine that part of it. I don't expect anybody to say that they're a freedman if they don't truly believe it. I speak on being a freedman now because it means so much more to me than just saying, oh, I don't have to say that I'm not ADOS. I mean, I know my lineage. Well, being a freedman gives me the ability to, if I'm going to put something out there, I would rather put that I am a descendant of a freedman than I am a freedman, versus saying that I'm a descendant of slavery. Because we know the institution of slavery and what it did to us, what it did for us. But I can't live in that institution. I have to live in the institution of being free, not the institution of being enslaved. Or I'm undermining greatness. I'm undermining greatness. Embarking on new things, when I second guess myself, because I know the mission is strong, I know everything is right, and when I second guess myself, I feel like now I'm undermining greatness, because what am I literally second guessing myself for? When people tell me that they're about to start a business and they're scared, you're second guessing yourself, you're undermining greatness. And frankly, I don't want to deal with anybody that's scared to do anything nowadays. If you are scared of doing something, there's a real problem in this world. At this point right now, if you are scared to do something, there's a problem. And you are indeed undermining greatness. I don't want to be around people that are scared. You have a concern with something, let's address that concern. Let's get it right. Let's move on. But being scared stops everything. How do you do something and be fruitful scared? Think about that. You are undermining greatness. Now, is that being malicious? Maybe. Depends on what you do when you're scared. With your fear, it depends on what you do with it. You could be malicious. You could be malicious. You could absolutely be malicious. Are you strategic in your fear? A lot of times when you're fearful of something, you're really not strategic. Think about it. You're not strategic. You're not being strategic. Because you're fearful. Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully this Monday morning finds you healthy, whomever you are, anonymous Facebook user. I know Brother Richard was up at 4:20. That might even be Brother Richard in here. I don't know. He was up at 4:20 as usual. I was up at 4:20 trying to figure out the rest of my day after catching some unexpected sleep. But I guess it was expected. Worked my ass off for a couple of days, and I don't mind hitting the wall right now because I know I got to hit the wall a couple times before I get to those days of getting some rest. So we're good with it. But yes, good morning to you. I'm combing just really through my timeline. So crazy, this guy, and I talked about this yesterday. This tennis player, Novak Djokovic, talking shit about Simone Biles. And if you haven't noticed, because I've noticed, if the person is just not just a European, a Caucasian, if they're just not a European colonizer, it's a foreigner. It's an immigrant who may live here, possibly even still from another territory, that is talked down about Simone Biles. I've seen very, very few, other than Jason Whitlock, of course, punk ass. I've seen very, very few Black Americans talk against Simone Biles. But you've seen foreigners and you have seen people of European descent, Caucasians, talk against her. And this guy, Novak Djokovic, whatever, said, pressure is a privilege, my friend. Without pressure, there is no professional sport. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. If you are aiming to be at the top of the game, you better start learning how to deal with pressure and how to cope with these moments. If you are aiming to be at the top of the game, you better start learning how to deal with pressure and cope with those moments. She is the greatest gymnast ever. Simone Biles is the greatest gymnast ever. So I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about if you're aiming to be at the top of the game. She is at the top of the game. There wouldn't be this much fuss made over her if she was not at the top of the game. There would be that much fuss over her if she hadn't brought home the gold 27 times. So I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about. But see, him talking against Simone Biles to us means nothing to us. This is just to get him in the news. This is just to show that white supremacy does stick together on all levels, even when it doesn't concern them. Okay? Even when it does, because see, here's the thing. Novak Djokovic, after losing his bronze medal singles match, Novak Djokovic threw his racket into the stands. He could have hurt somebody. Smashed another racket. He could have hurt somebody. Then skipped his doubles match. And it says in an Olympic meltdown. What's Olympic about that? Why did it have to be an Olympic meltdown? That's not an Olympic meltdown. That's just a crazy white man meltdown. Call it what it is. What is he, Russian? I don't know. Novak Djokovic? I don't know what he is. I don't know where he's from. Okay? His name sounds like a cheap bottle of vodka. So he might be Russian. I don't know. I don't know what he is. Doesn't matter. He's a bronze medalist. And I'm not sure why he's talking about gold medalist. See, Simone Biles is a gold medalist, a 27 times over gold medalist. He was a bronze medalist as a single player and skipped his double match where he was possibly going to be another bronze medalist. But then he cost the person he was in the doubles match their opportunity to become a bronze medalist because he had an Olympic meltdown. Wigga G, what's good with you, brother? So they allowed him to have a Olympic meltdown after he skipped his doubles match, after he broke his racket, after he threw his racket into the stands. That's two potential situations where he could have hurt somebody or even killed somebody. You throw a tennis racket into the stands, you could kill somebody. Now, I know the Olympic stands I think, are empty, but it could have been anybody walking up the steps. What if he threw that thing and hit somebody just walking up the steps, hit him in the neck, paralyzed him, or killed him? Would that have been an Olympic meltdown, or would that just have been a crazy white man meltdown? See, what we have here is someone who tried to undermine greatness, and then look what happened to him immediately thereafter. Then look what he did for the person who was trying to medal in the doubles match. He undermined their greatness because, there's only 3 medals. So even if you don't win the gold, even if you don't win the silver, a bronze medalist is great because you're better than everybody else. You're one of the top 3 people in the world. Well, if it's a doubles match, you're one of the top 2 people in the world. But you cost your teammate that because you got angry after losing your bronze medals match. So he's not even a bronze medalist. He was a bronze medalist candidate. So what is he? He's 4th. So why are you talking about a gold medalist, motherfucker, when you're not even a bronze medalist? And then you skipped out on your other potential bronze medal match. So now you just walking around with no tennis rackets, no medals, no nothing. But they give him a microphone, but they give him a camera to be demeaning to Simone Biles. That's white supremacy. Oh, here you go, Wigga. I'm tripping still about that whole scenario with the weightlifting. I ain't said a whole lot about it, but once again, we want to talk about undermining greatness. This motherfucker is like, what they say, he's like 14 years older than the next candidate. Some crazy shit. I forgot what the age discrepancy is between the dude who transitioned and he's now a woman, but he still got all the man capabilities. He's big as fuck. He's nowhere near these other women that are powerlifting. And I did some reading about him. See, he won in junior competition as a man. I forgot his name, but he won as a junior competitor in weightlifting. But when he became a full-grown man, he didn't win. He didn't win. He got, I don't know if I don't know what happened. Hey man, you ain't got to. You can identify and you can let the 5 o'clock shadow ride, man. But I saw a pattern of him winning. All of a sudden he'd stop winning. And he could have identified as a woman before all this. I don't know. I had never heard about any of this. But then when he switched over, I believe if you want to still do weightlifting, you still need to be competing the same way you were. I don't believe he should be allowed to go to women's competition now because he is technically a female or he's a woman. I don't know how to classify as a female woman. You've now got women genitalia, most of it. I don't believe that he should be allowed or she should be allowed to compete, That'd be like, and this is not to throw anything out there, because I hate this shit that we gotta put all these disclaimers out there. We just can't talk as people anymore. But that literally be like, let me get a young person like Stephen Curry. If Steph Curry said all of a sudden he wanted to just have a sex change, I don't think he should be able to come back and play in the WNBA. I don't believe he's a woman now, but he can't play in the WNBA. You knew him as Steph Curry. Now that he may be Stephanie Curry, and truthfully, I think that's undermining greatness. See, I can go and undermine because for one, that is strategic. And why would he want to do that anyway when you beat most men? You were one of the best men players. Why would you want to flip and now I'm going to dominate as a woman just because I got woman parts? So I looked into that person that had the sex change with the body building. I'm wondering, like, what happened here? What happened with him? Why did he do this? I mean, you want to live your life, you live your life. But then he jumped back into competition. He should have jumped in and said, hey, I still got all the same everything that I had as a man bodybuilder, stay male competition. Or if they need to develop a trans competitive situation, then do that. I don't believe that you should be able to perform as a woman if you've already performed as a man in that type of competition. It just doesn't make sense. It's not fair. If you were a man and you were a boxer and all of a sudden you decide you're going to get a sex change, you should not be able to come back and be a woman's boxer. There's absolutely no way that a woman could hold up to your strength. Women don't have that kind of strength. They just don't. They don't have that kind of bone structure. But they're allowing it to happen. They're calling it inclusion. You're not calling it inclusion. It's murder. You're murdering people by this happening. Thus, undermining greatness. Daylight is hitting, man. Daylight is hitting. I like when people put good morning quotes out, You're not going to master the rest of your life in one day. Just relax, master the day, and then just keep on doing that every day. I like that. I like that. What I really want people to do, this guy, he did all that talking. Then there was another guy, I guess he's a former wrestler, another foreigner, another immigrant, talking shit. Because everybody's talking this pressure. She can't handle the pressure. She's won 27 gold medals. She was sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar. She is the only surviving Nassar victim still competing in the Olympics. You understand me? She's still competing. He destroyed lives. He shortened careers. He cost women millions of dollars. Millions, maybe billions, who knows? He thwarted some of the potentially great gymnasts. But look what he didn't do. He didn't stop Simone Biles. See, nobody's talking about that, about her being a sexual assault victim of Larry Nassar's, who's gone on to win 27 gold medals. Nobody's talking about that part. Where are the black people talking about that part? Where are the domestic violence and sexual harassment and sexual violence people? Where are them? Where they at? Where are those people at talking about Larry Nassar? What the fuck is that? He slowed up like 2-3 times and shit. Remember, you see this light, you see somebody's in here, don't pull up wrongfully. So, okay. But ain't nobody coming to Simone's defense when these foreign hecklers come out. Where are all the sportscasters? Well, hell, you know what? Let's just start on the ground. Where's all the black women who want to trash people when shit's going on like this? Now, y'all be quick to trash Simone if she had a white boyfriend. Y'all be quick to trash Simone if her edges ain't right. But how come y'all not supporting Simone right now when these foreign hecklers are going in? People that come over here to get money, here to get their fame, talking shit about your young queen. I see some people saying some shit, but for the most part, black women have been quiet on this. That's your sis. That's your little sister. Sis. When she wins the gold medal, y'all in there, yes. Yes. But right now, she's going through some troubled times. How come ain't nobody posted that shit? How come ain't nobody changing their profile pictures to Simone? Y'all pray for everybody. Y'all put that up in the motherfucking post. Y'all put that on them damn borders. Y'all pray for everybody. Pray for Paris. Pray for this. Pray for that. Pray for that. How come y'all ain't put a pray for Simone up? Where y'all praying for Simone at? Y'all ain't gonna put none on it? Y'all cape for Kamala Harris, and she don't even like y'all asses. Simone has been unapologetically black, and she can't get no hand claps from her sisters. And I'm not talking on an individual level. I've seen some individuals do some things, say some things. But for the most part, most of y'all ain't said shit. That undermines greatness too. And I look at that one, I classify that one as malicious. Because when you get all over somebody on one thing, when you up somebody on another thing, why don't you support them on this thing? This girl is preserving her mental health. And then a lot of y'all want to talk about mental health. Talk about your own personal mental health. Here's your little sister going through mental health problems. She got 27 gold medals draped around her neck. She's been more than an Olympian. She's been an American. But where's her support? You know, and they just coming out the woodwork, and they're going to keep coming out the woodwork because black people ain't stepping up collectively to say, you ain't going to do that about her. Leave her alone. Just like that sister in the store, said, I came back here for you. That's the attitude we need to have. If somebody gonna step up and talk some shit about somebody, whether it be Simone Biles or Simone Johnson, whoever the fuck, could be at the Olympics, it could be in Old Navy, it don't matter. We don't let nobody talk about our people like this. And if y'all don't want to fucking say something, just say y'all cowards. Say, you know what? I'm a coward, and I would rather stay out of any of this. I'm not here for it. I just want to get by. I just want to get on by. Say that. Don't talk that militant shit. And then when it's time to step up, then you don't want to step up. Don't talk all that sister and brother shit. Absolutely. They are, brother. You can't have a fence straddler and think they got your back. Like you run out there in the field and you be like, cover me. If that motherfucker is on the fence and you be like, cover me, you dead. You dead. You don't need fence straddlers at your back. You need fence straddlers in front of you. You know, like when I hear, because we got the same crimes being committed that were committed with Breonna Taylor, that were committed with George Floyd. I mean, how many people have had their necks knelt on by police officers since George Floyd? It's been ridiculous. Now, I don't know how many have died, but just that tactic alone, there ain't been no police been fired or convicted or nothing. George Floyd's killer is in prison, but because these other people aren't dying, these police officers aren't going to prison. They're not being tried. They're not even being thrown out the force. They're being suspended with pay, suspended without pay, but they're not even being fired. You just did the same thing that killed the motherfucker. That's grounds for dismissal. Fuck. He did it for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. You did it for 6 minutes. You were 2/3 the way there, bro. You got to go, and we're arresting you, and we're trying you, and we're convicting you, and you're going to prison. That's not happening. Derek Chauvin was just the mascot to this shit. But that won't happen to every police officer that kneels on someone's neck, because it's happened since George Floyd, and ain't nobody fucking got arrested. You can become a police officer faster than you can become a barber. You can become a police officer faster. You can become a nail technician. You can become a police officer faster. You can become an electrician, a plumber. You can become a police officer through basically a fucking correspondence course now. Police officers need to be churned. They need to be churned out with full education. Hey, I don't give a fuck, 2-year, 4-year degree, whatever, before you get out there in the street. Now, I know there's a lot of people skills and shit that goes along with being a good police officer. I think you can get that if you take the right courses through college programs. I don't believe you should just be able to go to a police academy where all they're teaching you about is policing, but they're not teaching you about mental health. They're not teaching you about, different social behaviors and climates and things like that. They just give a white cop a badge, a gun, handcuffs, tasers, all that shit, and say, go work around a whole lot of black people, and he ain't never been around a whole lot of black people. Policing in general, I mean, there's things that are obviously different, I think, in different police agencies, but policing in general, you got to understand where policing started in this country. Policing started because they were trying to capture enslaved people. So there are people that were wrongfully enslaved, and they established policing with slave patrols. So the whole premise of policing started with wrongful people chasing down and capturing righteous people. Just that alone, you need to break all that. Hell, they use the same shield that they used in slave patrols that they use for police badges now. It's the same fucking shield, just got different engraving on it. And I think there needs to be different levels of policing. Because they always say, we can't get a mental health worker out there every minute. Then don't send nobody out there. If a motherfucker tells you, hey, we got a mental health case going on, bam, 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 don't send 2 armed police officers out there with no mental health training. Don't send their ass out there. If that's who they're requesting, that's who you send out there. Get somebody on call and meet them at the site. But they're not the first responder. That mental health person is the first responder, and you protect that mental health person, or they should go through some police training, may even have a gun and shit on them. Who knows? Maybe they have de-escalating tools. Maybe they don't need a gun, but if they need to protect themselves, give them that training. But don't give 2 armed bandits the capabilities to go in on a mental health case. We see more people get killed because a mental health call was requested, but they send 2 armed bandits out and they shoot innocent, unarmed people in their homes, in their yards, in their driveways. And it's all justified by qualified immunity. I feared for my life with this unarmed man coming out with his hands up. We were in danger. He looked crazy. Yeah, okay. You're right, Wigga. The dynamic has not changed. Policing is what it was. Individual situations, they're changed. I don't put everything under a global scale, but the main premise of policing has not changed. It has not. Oh, that Starbucks must have been open. Sorry. Yeah, that's what that was about. That Starbucks was, everybody was waiting for that motherfucker. Got it. But you got to be careful with people that are, trying to undermine greatness. This is the second or third time for this young basketball player, Zion Williamson. Now another girl has come out saying Zion was in my DMs, this, that, and the other. Zion Williamson, I don't believe he's going to be the next LeBron James. I don't think there'll ever be another LeBron James. Looks like there'll never be another Michael Jordan. Just like there'll never be another Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is the greatest. A trained police panic and shoot while they expect a distressed citizen to remain calm. Yeah, in a nutshell, right there. I mean, you got these Barney Fifes out here, barely, they can't pull their gun out of their holster and shit. And then you got a mental health person who literally just needs some help. And they may need their medicine. They need their meds. They're off their meds. They need their meds. But they end up catching slugs because you got police officers who don't know how to react to that type of situation. But no, yeah, this guy, Zion Williamson, somebody needs to put their arm around this brother, because Zion Williamson is going to come up either on a rape charge, he's going to have a whole bunch of baby mamas, or both. Because every time he jumps off in some woman's DMs, she wants to put him out there. Leak this, leak photos, leak messages, leak this, leak that. Damn. He's already a star in the NBA because he's Zion Williamson. But what's going to keep him from going to that next level is going to be shit like this. He's being plagued. What was this, his second year? It's only his second year. And he had some shit when he was at Duke. Now he's got some shit now. I mean, I don't know why these guys can't, like, say, hey, I want to give me some sex, and they get them some sex and then move on. But all this jumping off and trying to leave messages, don't they understand these young girls are screenshotting this shit, recording this shit, and they putting it on other platforms? They're social media people. And this boy is trying to feed his family forever. Zion Williamson can take care of his lineage forever if he does the right thing. Ain't nobody ever got to work in Zion Williamson's family ever again. They just got to keep the Zion Williamson brand going. What'd you say, Wigga? I didn't think Bill needed to be in jail. I truly didn't. And I'm believing less and less that that he actually did anything wrong, other than believing that being the biggest celebrity in Hollywood and doing drugs with socialites was a good thing. I don't know why Bill thought that was a good thing. I really don't. The way I looked at Bill, I was like, damn, bro, you smart as fuck. You're an educated man. Why did you believe that randomly, recklessly having relations with white women that you had no real connection to? Y'all was just doing drugs, and how'd you just think that was just going to end up? How'd you think that was going to end up? And where were Bill's handlers? I talk about Zion Williamson needing to have somebody put their arm around Bill. How come nobody had their arm around Zion? How come nobody had their arm around Bill? Bill became the #1 celebrity. And you notice they don't go for like the #9 celebrity. They only go for the top one. Bill became the #1 celebrity, black celebrity, and then the #1 celebrity in the world. They gunned for him. They gunned for him. And they got him eventually. O.J. Simpson, same thing. Michael Jackson, Prince, same thing. They will do whatever they can to undermine greatness. I mean, you've heard more about Michael Jackson and Prince and drug use since their death, but you didn't hear about all that shit when they were living. Now you're hearing all these drugs. They're using drugs and they needed this to wake up and use this to go to sleep. Okay. Well, where was all that when they was out there singing and dancing? Nobody was saying shit then. Michael and Prince were no different than high performing athletes, but they just didn't have the correct medical practitioners. I don't think Michael and Prince were fucking drug addicts. I don't think they would have been able to perform at the level that they did for the years that they did. I don't think they were drug addicts. I think that they did what they did for their bodies to cope. Maybe there was some mental shit that they had to deal with. I mean, you have to understand it. There was Michael and Prince. Once you get to that level, I don't even know how those guys think. I don't know how those guys think. I do know that when you're put into a pressure cooker like that and you come out and you continue to amaze and perform and accomplish, you can't do that. You can't do that in an inebriated state, not on a consistent basis. And I know functional addicts. I don't believe that Michael was a functional addict. I don't think Prince was a functional addict. I think they had coping mechanisms. And, you know, I could be wrong in maybe my theory on that, but I just don't believe they were. But they undermine their greatness by trying to talk about their drug usage. So disrespectful. So disrespectful. There's absolutely no one going to ever be able to surpass either one of them. So instead of celebrating what they gave the world, they'd rather talk about Prince Pop Perks. I get Kai a donut. Make her some eggs. Yeah, I've cut the cord on people that are in that undermining mode because I see it a lot more than I used to because I'm paying attention to who's there and who's not there a lot more. Who's been there? So undermining is damaging when you don't know it exists. It's and someone can literally be undermining you and smiling in your face. It doesn't always have to be someone doing something conniving behind your back. They could be literally right in your face undermining you. And you need to understand that. And if you don't, there's a problem. Wigga, I'm about to get up out of here. You have a great day. Appreciate you checking it out. Brother Richard, the chat was quiet because I was really just kind of in here going off. Peace to my descendants of freedmen, the United Sons and Daughters of freedmen. Peace to all the descendants of chattel slavery family. I know I talked a little bit about the hashtag folk at the beginning, but I was talking about undermining greatness, and I feel like they've done their share of that as our collective tries to move forward and trying to separate themselves. And like I said, you can't break our lineage just because we don't use your hashtag. And you're not going to move any faster by trying to start over and polish it up and make it look new. You know, all this, you know, making of a movement and all this other stuff. This is what they wanted to do from the beginning. I'm catching it, you know. But y'all need to rephrase that because this ain't your second annual. If it was your second annual would have happened last year, but you're the second annual, you know. Let's get all your people lined up because I'm going to critique all this shit. Not to stop it, not to immobilize it, not to undermine it. But if you want to act perfect, I'm going to treat you like you act perfect. And then we'll move forward. That's what You just may be, Wigger. You just may be. I don't really judge white, so I'm good. But hey, man, if you say you got the trophy for being the best white on the internet, okay. I think you understand more than others. I don't know if you understand the most, but I think you understand more than others, and you give your opinion unapologetically. I can respect that more than I can respect a lot of this shit out here. Keep being you. Y'all be good. 6 o'clock. I guess that puts me at an hour. One love.